My name is Kate Lucasavage, and I was 16 years old and in a relationship with my high school softball coach. So to kind of start, I am from a town in the Akron-Canton area. It's called Cuyahoga Falls. Childhood-wise, I am an only child, so that comes with its own interesting things. It's just you dealing with your life and your parents and your family and whatever. I had a pretty normal childhood. I mean, my parents are both middle class. They worked factory jobs. My mom typically worked like second shift my whole life, so she worked from like 2 p.m. to like 11 at night, and then my dad worked like a 12-hour schedule, so he worked from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. like half the week. So my mom was gone a lot of the times working when I was growing up, so it was mainly my dad that took care of me, and then my grandma. Obviously, my mom was still around. They were still married my whole life. Like, I saw her on the weekends and like before I went to school, but it was mainly my dad. And my parents both did, obviously, like, I have done very well for myself. Like, I'm a lawyer now, I have my own house, I have my own life. Like, they did a good job raising me, but with, I'd say, any person or child, there's always some difficulties growing up. So, my dad, I think he did the best that he could. He was kind of a little bit harder on me, especially with athletics and stuff. I did play soccer and then obviously softball my whole life. So he was very hard on me and kind of made those what should be fun experiences as a kid kind of very stressful and intense. Yeah. And he did the same thing with school as well. However, that kind of control and intensity and like, he was basically just like very like over my shoulder, like up in my business. Like, if I, like, for example, like if I had a softball game where I like struck out, like he would go over and over like what I did wrong, like stuff like that. So he was like that with sports my whole life until I stopped playing after high school. And then he was like that with school up until a certain point. But then I've been smart my whole life, so I kind of like just took that on my own, so he didn't really need to like worry about that. So everything was good and like normal besides that up until about like late elementary school, early middle school. This is when my mom started to talk about like men she had met at work. Like she would talk to, and like, I'm like a kid. So like, yeah. I kind of like, she's like bringing them up. I'm like thinking they're friends, like obviously because she's married, like whatever. So she's like talking to me about these guys. Like, I remember like one would like make her mixtapes and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's not like whatever. And then she started to really talk about this guy. And I noticed like texting and whatever this guy that, she met at work. And then she also like included details that they like went grocery shopping together, like when my dad was working, like, and I was at school, like stuff like that. And
it's surprising that she would tell you that too. Cause like with kids, you never know what they're gonna say.
Right. And so I'll kind of get more into that, and I also, to preface this too, we could take this out. Like, I have, obviously my parents are still around and like they're still in my life, but like I've ultimately decided that like this is my story. Mm-hmm. So the faults that they've made as parents that like, in my opinion, like contributed to this happening, I'm not going to have them save face to not be able to tell my whole story.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. And I tell people all the time, you have the full right to tell your story, you know, and I don't think anybody comes on here to bash anyone. You know what I mean? Whether it's their family, friends involved, whoever it may be. It's more so, and when you live here and you're a human, there's other people involved in your life.
Right.
And if they're close to you, then they're going to be within your story. And it's not to be like, oh, it's all your fault, but
Right.
like you are a factor.
Yeah, like whether it, clearly it wasn't intentional or anything they did, but
Exactly.
it's at the end of the day, this is my story now, and I hid this whole thing for like so many years of my life. And I'm just to the point now where like I'm gonna talk about it. I'm not gonna
hide it. And
I'm not gonna protect people that. So
absolutely.
Anyways, so my mom's telling me about this strange relationship she has with this guy, whatever. I kind of just brush it off. You know, I'm a kid, I'm doing my own thing. And so then there's one day I don't know if I was doing something with my friend or if I just got home from school or what, but I know that my dad got off and got home from work around 6:30 p.m. And so I'm home and I see this like car outside of our house and I'm like, that's fucking weird. And I was always taught like not to open the door for anybody. Like if a telemarketer knocks on the door, like literally hide behind, like I had always done that. So I'm like, I'm certainly not opening the door. And this lady comes out and is like knocking on our door and like knocking on both doors and like not going away. And I'm like, okay, this is really weird. And like take it into consideration. I mean, I think this all happened like 7th grade going into 8th grade. So I'm like 13, 14 years old. And so eventually she literally waits outside for like hours, like for my dad to get home. And so I like am waiting, obviously, like what the hell's going on? And my dad gets out of the car and he goes over and like talks to her for a while and whatever. And then she leaves and he comes in and, you know, he doesn't really say anything, like whatever. I'm like still like, okay, whatever. And then later, I'm not sure like how soon later, I remember we like get home from one of my softball games. It was a championship we won. Like it was a good day. And my dad was a coach on that team. And we get home, it's like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And he's like, what's going on with your mom and like this guy? Like his wife like came to our house and like said that they're in this like relationship and yada, yada, yada and whatever. And so he really puts me on the spot because I'm like, shit, like, and so then I like tell him the truth. Like, I'm like, yeah, like I have heard about this guy, whatever. So he's obviously upset. And then my mom comes home from work at like 11 o'clock and they get into this big fight and she packs up her shit and leaves. And so then the next day, I mean, and she comes back like thinking that I'm going to go like with her. And cause she just like went to stay at her mom's house. And I'm like, no, you know, this is my home. Like, I'm not just going to uproot, whatever. So they're in this weird limbo with their marriage for like 3 months. Like my dad's wanting to work things out. She's like not really interested. I don't know if she's still seeing this guy this time, whatever. And then they're both like talking about each other like to me. So like I know too much about them and their marriage like
yeah, and
already.
then you're like, it puts you in such a weird position. You're like a middleman,
right?
Which isn't fair,
right? And I mean it's been like that probably my entire life. Like I've been the middleman between the both of them, and it until very recently like I thought that that's like how it was supposed to be.
Right.
Like that I thought
that's
that
all you knew,
right? So eventually I think she moved out for like 3 months. And in that time, I remember it was like fall time. It was October, November. And I was home alone, obviously, because she had moved out. And my dad was like out working in the garage on like a snowblower or a leaf blower or something. And something happened where he like fell into the blade and it like fucked his hand up. Like,
Jeez.
So he ended up having to lose a finger or whatever. And so I'm the only one home. So he's like yelling, calling for help. I come out there, there's blood everywhere. I have to have the neighbors call the ambulance. He goes to the hospital, he has to have surgery, stuff like that. And then that's when my mom, like, moves back in. And so she kind of, again, like, knowing too much about them, she's like, I only moved back in because I had to take care of your dad, and like, what else was I to do, and yada, 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 and all this other stuff. So she moves back in, and they just deal with each other. They're married. They actually have a pretty good marriage now, shockingly, but like, they, again, like the rest of my life, like in a middle school and a high school, they just kind of like tolerate each other.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what she was doing, like, outside of there. She finally stopped telling me about that, which was good. But so they are together, and like, life kind of resumes as normal. But again, like, she's not around. She's working second shift. Like, he's the only one around. And so, yeah, that happens, and that was, in the grand scheme of things, like, I remember back then, like, that was all, like, a lot for me as a kid, just because nothing had really, like, happened to me at that point. So I, like, dealt with that, and then I got into high school, and for the most part, my early parts of high school were fine. I played soccer. I was on varsity soccer as a freshman. I made a lot of friends through that. Like, I became friends with some of the upperclassmen that I really liked, that kind of like took me under their wing, and I'm still friends with some of them today. And like, I just did like normal fucking high schooler shit. I played sports, I hung out with my friends, like, I did well at school, whatever. And then I also played like travel softball and stuff growing up, and so I had a lot of friends that played softball too. So we had our softball tryouts freshman year, and Corey, my abuser, was a coach at this time. So we had tryouts, and all of my friends had made varsity, and I didn't. I made JV. And so obviously, like, I was upset about that, because like, I had been like playing softball with them my whole life, whatever. And so kind of at this point, like, you're put in a situation, or like a disadvantage almost, where you're like trying to impress this coach and perform well and show you work hard to try to get to be on varsity. So that was kind of my perspective on things when I was playing JV, whatever. And, I played JV that whole year. And I remember I was like taking softball and playing and whatever really seriously, and like working really hard to try to make varsity like the next year.
And that would have been 10th grade.
Yes. So now we're into 10th grade. And most of my like sophomore year in 10th grade like was very normal. Like, I was, I played soccer again. I was a varsity soccer player. Like, I had a lot of friends through that. Like, we would party, like typical high school stuff. This is kind of when I started like talking to guys, like kind of like my first sexual experiences with guys, whatever. But I had never had sex or anything like that, just kind of like dabbling. And so the fall time is normal, whatever, and then that whole year really is normal until we get into like softball season. And so I remember like I was still working really hard to try to get on varsity. We had tryouts. Like, she like classified me as like a swing position where I was supposed to play on varsity and JV. What the fuck ever. And so I eventually, like, I sat for a little bit, and then she put me in a game, and I like started to play. And I ended up doing pretty well, so she started to play me more, and eventually I got to the point where, like, I was playing well, I was hitting well, whatever. I got what I wanted finally. And so then at this point, like, and I had heard from other girls on the softball team that, like, she was very, like, friendly, but, like, I never took it as, like, an inappropriate friendly. Like, she was just, like, the cool coach. She, like, hung out with them. Like, people could go talk to her if they needed somebody, like, stuff like that. And so she kind of started by, she had a Twitter account. It was for our high school softball team. It was called CHS Softball. And so as a 10th grade, 16-year-old girl, like, I used Twitter all the time. I would, like, tweet whatever the fuck, song lyrics, whatever. And so she, like, starts to, like my tweets on Twitter and stuff. And I'm like, and it just, like, comes up weird because it's, like, a high school sports account. And so then she starts doing that. And then from what I remember, she starts texting me, like, and we start texting, like, very frequently, just about, like, softball, about life, whatever. And then it kind of starts to get to the frequency where we're, like, always in contact with each other. Whatever. Like, I still at this point am, like, not looking at it as anything because that's my coach. You know, I like guys, like, whatever. And so I'm not really, like, thinking anything of it. And then I'm just, like, thinking we're friends. And so then she starts to, you know, hang out with me outside of softball. Like, she would have me come visit her at her office at school because she was a high school softball coach, but then she was also a gym teacher at an elementary school in our district, which is quite horrifying at the end of this, but whatever. But so I would, like, there are times where I would, like, leave school and, like, skip school to go, like, hang out with her in her office at work. And she, like, obviously had no problem with it, whatever. Like, she would buy me food there sometimes when I went there. We'd hang out, talk about whatever. And then she started taking me to dinner, like, after softball games. And then
just you two.
Yes, just us. And then we started to, like, do stuff on the weekends. Like, we would go watch, like, other high school teams' games sometime, like, when our season ended, or, like, watch other teams in our conference, like, if we were about to play them next, whatever, kind of like a scouting thing.
Now, would you tell your parents that you were hanging out with her, or did you keep it to yourself?
At this point in time, I'm not really I can't really remember what I told them. I don't know if they were fully aware that I was hanging out with her, or, like, what we were doing, but I'll get into it. There does become a point in time where they know that I'm with her this often.
Yeah.
So we're going to dinners, and then there eventually becomes a point in time where I was going to her house frequently, and, like, we'd go hang out at her house, or, like, we get food and, like, take it back and eat at her house. And so she at the time was living in Talmadge, which is, like, the next town over from ours. And it was like, it's probably, like, 10 minutes away from my house, like, in the schools and whatever. So I'd be going there. And then I do remember one time, I don't know if I was just over there really late or what, but I ended up staying the night there in, like, her spare room. And again, it's just us there. And so nothing happens that time. I sleep in her spare room. I go home the next day. I know that time my parents knew. I think I told them I was at a friend's house or something like that. So then eventually this is the day that, like, I really remember. It's a Friday. I believe it's May 22nd or 23rd. And she, like, invites me over to, like, it was decided that I was, like, gonna stay the night again. And she's like, you know, I'll, like, get you some alcohol, whatever. Because at the time, like, I did, like, drink. Like, I was in high school. I drank at parties. Like, I drank when I hung out with my friends sometimes. Whatever. So I was like, 32.
Okay. And you were, what, 15, 16? 16.
I had turned 16 in October, and so this is May now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just surprising. Like, that's some serious risks. Like,
the
alcohol, having you sleep there. Like, even just besides, you know, anything of what you're about to get to. That's like
right.
Bad.
Right. It's bad.
And did you have any like inkling in yourself of like, this feels like she's kind of like coming on to me at all? Or at this point still you weren't sure?
And it's so funny because like I like sit back now and I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking was gonna happen? Yeah. Like, but I just like
I don't think anybody thinks that.
No, like I just like still thought that we were just like friends or like whatever. Young. You know, I just thought she was cool. Like all my teammates had said she was cool and like just cool to hang out with, like whatever.
And I'm sorry, but like it is different when it's a woman.
Right. Yep.
Like, you know, you're not going to view it as weird right off the bat.
And at this point in time, like I had like not had any like attraction towards girls. Like I had no sexual experiences with girls. Like that like has never even crossed my mind. So I am just kind of like, okay, like whatever, like, yeah, let's drink. And and then she's also like, I like have these like like these THC or marijuana gummies like that. And we'll do like those too. So I remember we're sitting on her couch and she like makes me this mixed drink with something. It's vodka and something. And she makes it for me. So I don't know like what all exactly she puts in it. And so she gives me this drink and I'm drinking that. And then she gives me a gummy. And then I kind of like start to like slip into, you know, I don't know if she drugged me with something. I don't know if I was just fucked up because I'm 16 years old. Yeah. And so I kind of like slip into the haze of being under the influence, you know. And so I remember she like gets closer to me on the couch. And she like starts like nibbling on my ear and like kissing my ear. And then she starts kissing my neck. And then like we like start like kissing and making out and whatever. And then like the rest of the night from there kind of goes dark for me. I don't know if it is the passage of time or like the trauma like blocked it out. But I remember the next morning I like wake up in her bed with her next to me. And I don't have any like pants on or anything like that. And I'm kind of like, what happened? Like, whatever. And then at this point, I believe this is when we like engage. We like have sex for the first time.
That morning.
From what I remember.
Okay.
So then, you know, that happens. I eventually go home and she's like still like blowing me up, like texting, saying like, what was that? Like, I think she like told me she loved me and like that she wanted to be together with me, blah, blah, blah. And like, you know, at this time, like she had became like the person that I could rely on and that I could count on and that I could run to. And that would like, if I was upset, she would comfort me, like stuff like that. So I was kind of like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what we're doing. So
did she ever say anything to you? Like, you know, you can't tell anybody or anything
yes,
like that?
So she did. So we like eventually established that we're like together or like in a relationship or whatever. And then this is when she's like, you know, you can't tell anyone. Like, I could get in a lot of trouble. Yada, yada, yada. And at this point, like, I knew that. Like, I wasn't dumb. Like, I knew that, like, teachers could get in trouble for that. So I knew, like, no one could know about it. But then, like, and this is what, like, she was just, like, so bold at the beginning, too, because, you know, obviously there's all this trouble she can get in, but she's still, like, blowing my phone up, text me all the time at school, like from her actual number. Like at this point in time, we're going out to dinner and like doing stuff in the community.
Right.
So it's like anyone could have saw us out doing that, but there was not a concern of hers at that time. And so then, you know, we are in this, and I call it a relationship because that's it was really abuse, but we're in this relationship for the rest of that summer. So at that point, I mean, I was still in constant communication with her. Like, we would talk on the phone, we would text 24/7. You know, I think at one point, like, she had me change her name in my phone to, like, love, but like, stuff like this, fucking gross stuff like that. And so we are hanging out every day. I mean, we're obviously, like, we're having sex, like, every day. Like, it wasn't just, oh, like, we're fucked up, this is an accident thing. Like, after that, like, the abuse was every day. And so that summer, like, we just kept doing what we were doing. Like, she would, like, take me shopping and buy me stuff. And then she also, like, she was friends with this mom who was a parent of a girl that eventually was on our softball team. And then she had also taught her other daughter in school. And so this woman knew that, like, we were hanging out, but she didn't know that what the extent of our relationship was. So I think as kind of like a mask or like a guise of like what was actually going on, she like started having this family, this mom and her kids and whatever, come like do stuff with us.
Hey guys, today's episode is sponsored by OneSkin. All right, if you are anything like me, then your skin needs some extra loving this time of year. My skin is so dry and so flaky, I swear it is just completely flaking off, and it makes my skin itchy and just overall uncomfortable. That being said, that's why I've continued to rely on OneSkin, and my absolute favorite product by them is the OS1 Body Topical Supplement. It is so hard to find a good product that genuinely hydrates your skin. I personally like to put on my lotions, not only in the morning, but before bed is the most crucial to me. But it is so hard to find a product that genuinely hydrates and sinks into your skin so that when you wake up, you are soft and hydrated and smooth and silky throughout the day, which, like I mentioned, is never more important than this time of year. And super exciting, I have to mention that OneSkin just launched their limited edition holiday sets, which includes their best-selling face moisturizer, their new peptide lip mask, and my favorite, the cooling gua sha tool. For a limited time, try OneSkin for 15% off using code Devora at oneskin.co/Devora. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Again, for a limited time, try OneSkin for 15% off using code Devora at oneskin.co/Devora. And when they ask where you heard about them, make sure to tell them you heard it here. And now back to the episode.
Like, I remember one time, like, we went to Columbus for like a day trip to go shopping and stuff. And this family went. And I don't understand how this mom was like watching this, like seeing this relationship in person and being like,
this is normal.
This is fucking, because I would be like, this is fucking weird. Mm-hmm. Like, and like on this Columbus trip too, I mean, she was paying for everything for me. Like, I didn't work, like I was playing sports and stuff still and all that, but like I didn't work. Like I didn't have my first job really till I had graduated and whatever. So she would like pay for everything for me. And so like they knew, like they had to have seen that she was paying for all this stuff for me. Like she bought me clothes and like a new pair of soccer shoes. And like, that's just like not shit that your coach or an adult of that age should be buying for a 16-year-old. That's not related to them. And so all that kind of stuff was happening. And, you know, my parents at this point knew that I was like seeing her and hanging out with her occasionally, but not the full like extent of it. So also during the summer, like this is kind of, and I was talking to Matt about it actually yesterday, like I think what's so like haunting about these experiences, even now and even after you talk about them, is that like my first sexual experiences, like my first time like using a vibrator, my first time orgasming, my first time having sex, like is with her. Yeah. So anytime you like think about the first time you did any of those things, like that's what I remember. Right. And so like, you know, she's like, and she almost like, she like fully exploits the facts that I've like never had an orgasm, like never used a vibrator, or like I remember one time she made me like let her eat me out until I like had an orgasm. Like she wouldn't let me like stop her. Or then like she would make me like, because I really didn't want to use like a vibrator or anything like that, and she like made me use it until I like came. Like, and I'm like,
there's obviously, you know, obviously besides her being a fucking pedophile,
right,
you know, like there's obviously something within her that's like, I think, in my opinion, is attracted to younger people so that she can have that power of like, let me be your first or everything.
Right, yes. And I think that's exactly like what it is, because it wasn't like I was like fucking a bunch of dudes before I was 16 years old. Like even if I was, but like I had very limited experience.
It feels like it was almost like she saw an easy target.
Right.
To take advantage of.
Right. And then like it was also like the same thing with like porn. Like she would like start to introduce me with porn and make me watch porn, like stuff like that.
Yeah, like and weird shit.
Yeah, she's just fucking weird.
Yeah. Especially, it's just like, so it's odd to me too. It's like one thing to explore sexuality with like, you know, in your relationship where you're comfortable with two consenting adults. But then it's just like, to me, there's just this really twisted aspect to like wanting to introduce you to this more like.
Right.
And I wouldn't say, I guess like, I mean, at that age, it is dark. Like, I don't think that like those things are really thought about or experimented with until you're older. Like, even if you are having sex when you're 16 years old, it's like the very like basics. You think you're doing crazy stuff. You're not like, you know, that's crazy. And I think even that, I feel like I know I've had some people on the show talk about this, but you know, having those kind of experiences so young and in such a way like that you did, that was, you know, this kind of grooming situation, it does lead you to having sexual trauma. It's like it almost like has you viewing sex in not as like pure of a way. Like it's like it makes it different. It does.
Yeah. And then so I guess like some more like backstory on her too that I'm like figuring out while this relationship's going on in its early stages. I find out at first she lies to me and says that she has had sex with men. And then I don't know why she lies to me about this, because I like, you know, she knew that I hadn't had sex with any men. Like I had no reason to lie, like whatever. Like, and so she like told me that she had, and then, you know, I had made some kind of comment about like having sex with men, whatever, to her. And she like had this like almost like broke down and was like, I haven't had sex with a man before, like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you know, at this point too, she's told me that she's been in relationship with men. I think she told me there was at one point where she was engaged, like almost married. Like had told me that she was in serious relationship with men for like years. And I'm like, you were in a relationship with these men for that long and you didn't have sex? Like, and it's just like, was very like weird to me, like knowing how sexual she was at that point. And then another thing that I learned is that she did have a relationship with another girl that played softball. That
at the same school?
Yep. And that relationship started like 4 or 5 years before ours did, I believe.
Was the girl the same age as you?
So she alleges that it started after the girl graduated, and that like the girl initiated it and all this other stuff. But like,
okay, even so,
obviously knowing like what I know now, and like there was like a 9-year age difference between them too, which is like fine. Like we have an age gap between each other, but it's like, you know, I mean, this girl's 18 and what she's in her late 20s. Like that's like such a totally different like times of life, like, you know what I mean? So I don't know, like, and I'm not going to speak for her. Like, I don't know what happened when she was in high school. I don't know what she did, but like, clearly to me, like this grooming behavior and whatever the fuck is there. Like, there's no coincidence that you like dated this girl, and they dated for a long time. They like dated for years. They dated from when she graduated up until like me. So she says she broke up with her like right before things started with me. And so that was like an added layer to things where I'm like, that's fucking weird. And, you know, I think back about it now, and part of the reason I think that their relationship eventually ended was that, I obviously, like, when you get to a certain point of a relationship, you want to take it to the next step. You want to be like, you want to meet families, like be open about like your relationship. And I just don't think that Corey was ever comfortable with doing that, like with anybody. And so I kind of think that she thought maybe with me, like, oh, I'm underage, I can't tell anybody about this. So there's never going to be the want or desire to be open and talk and whatever. And like, yeah, so there's that too. So, you know, this like, the relationship's like progressing, like we get into my junior year, and at this point, like I'm in fully engulfed in this. And she has me convinced that she's the love of my life. Like no one's ever gonna like love me or be there for me as much as she is, yada yada yada. And so she would, every like free second I had, like she wanted it to be with her. Or then like if I try to hang out with my friends or whatever, like she would make me feel bad. So it was almost like, you know, I would go to school, I'd go to soccer practice or whatever, and then like I'd have to go see her. Like, and then I'd come home at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and like a bitch is fucking tired. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Like, you know, you're like, I'm like trying to like be a normal kid and like go to school and do sports and whatever, and then like still like put all of my time and energy like towards her too. And so, you know, this is going on, like I'm like starting to get more isolated from everybody else. I would say more like withdrawn, like secret, like obviously like I don't want people can't know about my life because it's with her all the time.
Yeah. And you never told any friends or anything?
No, not until I was an adult.
Damn.
And so then at this point too, like people like kind of started to like suspect something was going on, and it never escalated to the point of like telling anyone or anything like that. It was just like kind of like rumors like floating around the school. And so obviously we had caught wind of that and heard that. And so then at this point, like she kind of started to get like a little bit paranoid about things. Like I believe this is around the time where we started to like, if we were going to go out to eat or do whatever, like we would go like we lived in Summit County, we'd like go to like the next county over to do whatever. And then she also started kind of like trying to like befriend my parents too. And she ended up eventually like becoming like kind of friends with my dad, like kind of so that like it was okay. Like, yeah. So that's happening. And then one of the biggest because like the abuse after a certain point all runs together. Right. Like when it's that frequent, I was telling Matt the other day, it's like a big block of like,
yeah, just abuse. Like the time that it was happening. Like other than the beginning, I feel like, yeah, it's just like, you know the time frame. Hello. She's like, let me make you feel better.
And so there was one time that I do remember, it was really like, it was very like strange and like risky for her to do. Like she like facilitated this whole like Myrtle Beach trip for our softball team to take like through the school over spring break. And I remember we were like about to go leave for a practice or a game, and everyone else was like going down like from the hotel to get on the bus, and she like took me in her hotel room and like made out with me before we went and like did whatever this was. Like, and so I don't really know what the fuck that was about, but whatever. So that happens, like people are kind of starting to get like suspect something's going on, like the rumors are floating around, like this becomes the normal. So the normal persists like through like the end of my junior year, that summer of junior year, like we're in our relationship, like we think we just celebrated like our year anniversary of whatever. And so that is what it is. And then it continues into my senior year, and this is kind of when things start to blow up. So at this point, she is like wanting me to go and play college softball. And I kind of like just went along with like whatever she wanted me to do. And so I was like, yeah, okay, like I could do that. So she like started helping me like get recruited by like colleges, stuff like that. And like I also don't know at this point if this was another like manipulation or control tactic to be like, if you like leave or do whatever, like I'm not gonna help you with this. Mm-hmm. Because there were times where like we would fight obviously in the relationship, and like I would try to get like away from her or like get space from her, and like she would just like blow my phone up, like wouldn't stop calling my phone. And then I remember one time she like followed me home. Like I'm like trying to get away from her to fucking go home to my parents' house, and she's like following me home. Like she just did like crazy shit like that. And so
I think the hard thing too is, you know, like you mentioned, I feel like your first relationships, they're very like, you know, they have a big impact on you. You are kind of navigating things. And I think a lot of times, especially if there is, you know, a sense of manipulation and things like that, you don't really have the tools and understanding to point out those red flags and get away from them.
Right.
You know, I just feel like a lot, like, especially if it's your first type of thing, you just don't.
Right.
You don't know. It's not as easy as to just be like, this is bad, I'm out.
Yeah,
know?
Right. And especially now, like, there's this whole other layer to it.
Yeah.
Like, she's still my coach. Mm-hmm. Like, so it's that, and then she's also my coach. So it's not like I'm ever getting away with her, even if their relationship ends.
Yeah, it makes sense to me for you to have the mindset of like, come college time, I'll just go away to like escape the whole, you know, it's just, that seems like the easiest walk out of the situation.
Right. Yeah. So, and you know, at this point, like, I don't know, like, even if like that's fully what I wanted to do, like if I wanted to end the relationship and like,
right, you still have like feelings and emotions.
Like, and so I'm just like, it's a very confusing time. And so she like is having me go visit these colleges and is like basically like you know, she gets it in my mind that I like have to play college softball. But then, like, you know, I still don't know at the end of the day, like, at this time, if that's even what I wanted to do. Because I had, like, adapted so much of her personality and her wants and desire and, like, what she wanted in her life and, like, everything like that. Like, I didn't even know who I think I feel like I lost a sense of, like, identity.
Absolutely.
So she's like taking me on these college visits. Like, I think I missed school one day to go on a college visit with her. My parents did know about that. And like, you know, eventually I end up deciding to play college softball somewhere that it was like a smaller school, and it was like 45 minutes away from home. So like I could still see her, like, and like they didn't even have like, it's just like the way, how distorted she was about like this college softball thing is like, there was no like concern about the school part of things. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, like I was always very smart. Like I think I graduated with like close to almost a 4.0 in high school. So obviously the education part was something I was good at too, and also important to me. And so she had me like committed to the school that like didn't even have the major I wanted to go into and stuff like that, or anything even related to it. So that's happening. And then eventually I like, again, like I'm kind of like over her a little bit, like, but I feel like I'm trapped, obviously, like, because I can't get away from her. Yeah. And then also another thing is too, is that I don't know if I like girls or not really either. Like I don't know, because the only experience I'd ever had was with her. And then I had experience with like guys before her. And so I started to have this like identity crisis where I'm like, am I like a lesbian? Like what am I? Like, is it just her? Like, so I like kind of started like a thing with this girl on my soccer team. And like, I guess for like layman terms, like it was like I did like cheat on Corey. Like this girl and I like had feelings for each other. We were texting all the time. Like I think there were times where we like flew around a little bit. Like I definitely know we like made out and did whatever. And so she like obviously picked up on this because she was fucking creepy and like was
onto you. Yeah.
Onto me, yeah. And so she picked up like about this. Like I would deny it, but like she totally fucking knew that something was going on. And so eventually, like, she writes me this big, long, like, note thing in my notes, like, basically, like, I love you, like, you're my person, like, I'll be there for you in any capacity you want me to be, like, yada, yada, like, this big, long, like, nice thing that made me, like, feel bad for being unfaithful to her. And so at this point in time too, like, and to kind of give a little bit more background, like that summer prior, like she had a very close relationship with her grandmother, and her grandma died. I mean, her grandma was like 96 years old, but like her grandma died, and she was very upset and like grieving over that as well. So all these things are happening, and like she'd also like, you know, that was like a big person in my life too, where I'm like, what does my life like look like without her? Like, cause she was my life. And so I eventually decide to like end this fling or whatever with this other girl. I like feel really fucking guilty for like cheating on her, and like, you know, I was lying about it, and like she doesn't know exactly what I did, whatever. And so I have all these feelings of like guilt, like I feel bad for her, whatever. And so at this point too, like I think after like things ended with this girl, like, or like even like maybe while I was still seeing her, like I would also still go and like she would really like be obsessed with me like staying the night at her house because she said she wanted me to sleep with her. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So there were times where I like went and stayed the night at her house and did whatever. Like I know one time, like she did not let me go to like any school functions really or school dances except for my senior year homecoming. I don't know if I was just like, fuck it, I'm going anyways or what. I went, and then she made me like come stay the night at her house after. And so I don't know if my parents knew exactly how much I was staying the night over there. I don't think they did. But yeah, so all this is happening. Like things kind of like level out. It's like October, November of my senior year. And at this point, like I had turned 18. So this has been going on from 16 to 18, like almost all of high school, it feels like. And I was on this field trip for National Honor Society because we would go out in the community and do volunteer work or whatever. So I remember we go to this like nursing home and we like play games with the older people. And it was like really, I remember it was really nice. And like I had a really good time. Like, and it felt really good to like go and do that. And so I'm on the bus on the way home from that, and I'm like texting Corey on the school bus, and she's like not answering. I'm like, oh, whatever, like she's probably busy at work, whatever. And so we get back to the school, and the superintendent and the principal like come out of the office, because the office is like right by where the school bus comes up. And they're like, you need to come in here. Like, we need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. Like, am I in trouble? Like, whatever. Like, not even thinking, like, this is. And so they bring me into this office, and they, like, start asking me all these questions about her. Like, because a few weeks ago, these students from my high school had saw us out in public at this ice cream place that was very far away from where I lived. It was in like Cleveland area. And so it was like 45 minutes away. And it was just the two of us, and like 4 girls from my high school like saw us out there. And I don't know why like it took so long for someone to say something, or like what was going on at that time, but like eventually one of them told a teacher, and then the teacher told the administration, whatever, that they saw that and like something was going on, like, and there were rumors going around, whatever. And so superintendent and the principal like pull me into their office, and they're like ask me all these questions about Corey, and I'm like saying like no, it's not true. And they're like talking to me without my parents there. Or like they said they tried to call my parents, but like they didn't answer because they were both working. And so this whole time they're asking me all these questions. And then eventually, I believe in this interview, like I say that we hang out, like, and I say that I spent the night at her house, like stuff like I make some admissions to them. And so eventually they let me go, and my parents never fucking answer or respond to them, whatever. So I go home, and eventually like my parents do get a hold of the school, and you know, of course, I tell them, like, you know, it's not true, whatever.
Now, did she answer any of your texts?
No. So at this point, when the school finds out, like, she cut off all, like,
really
contact with me, yeah. So she cut off contact with me from beginning of November through, I want to say, like, mid to late December. But
did you see her at all?
No.
How did you feel about that? Were you upset?
Oh, yeah, because that was the only person I, like, talked to. Yeah. It was, like, it would be, like, if
like it went from
he
all
just,
to
like,
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be, like, if he just stopped fucking,
yeah,
and just was unreachable, and, like, there's no there's no anything. And so I'm very upset, and then, like, you know, this is, because they put her on administrative leave, like, pending this investigation or whatever. And so eventually there's like a newspaper article about it, about how she's on admin leave involving like an inappropriate relationship with a student. And so that's going on. And then all of this, obviously everybody knows about it because it's in the paper. And so then like, you know how high school is, like everyone's talking about it. And then everyone's like, the other component of it is like everyone's like, oh my God, like, are you a lesbian? Like, yada, 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 which is like that, like, if I was, like, that's not something that you announce in the fucking paper when you're in high school, you know?
And also, like, you didn't even have time to digest and know.
Right. And so, like, there's just all this is going around. So, like, school is hell too. And, like, everyone's like, oh my God, is this true? Is this true? Whatever. And so I'm, like, adamantly denying it because, like, obviously we had talked about it in our relationship, what I would do if the school, like, anybody found out or asked me, and, like, it was decided, like, obviously I would deny it, like, or else she would get in trouble. So I denied it, whatever. The school ended up having this lawyer from the district come in and, like, investigate this. And so she, like, interviews my parents, interviews a bunch of other students, yada, yada, yada. And then eventually, after she closes her investigation, Corey was reinstated as the gym teacher, but, like, not as our coach. So we got a new softball coach my senior year. But during this time, like, and I found this all out and confirmed it recently, like, the school never called the police and told them, hey, we have an inappropriate relationship.
And let her still work there.
Yeah, right. You know, because they never called CPS.
Right.
They never called the Ohio Board of Education. The Ohio Board of Education found out that she was under whatever for this by the newspaper articles. And so, you know, because forever I'm like, you know, I had thought, like, the police, like, they told the police and, like, nothing ever happened because I wasn't cooperative and my parents weren't cooperative. Like, my parents, like, thought that, like, my parents like were convinced like the school district was like out to get her basically, and that nothing was going on between us, and like they just wanted to get rid of her as a softball coach.
Did they ever question you, your parents?
I think they literally asked me like one time if it was true, and I said no, and then like that was just like it.
Okay.
Which it's like, I don't know, like I feel like I don't have any kids, but I feel like I would have asked a few more questions than that, but whatever.
I think too, because, you know, obviously in a situation like that, you're still a child, like you were going to be scared.
Right. And so I'm just thinking like that they told the police and they just didn't do anything because I wasn't cooperative and there was nothing criminal, but like clearly so I'm a prosecutor now. I know now that like if there's any kind of inappropriate relationship allegation with a teacher and a student, you are absolutely calling the police, and it is unheard of that a report's not taken and it's not investigated, because of course like a child in that position that's in fucking high school with all the shit's going on isn't gonna fucking admit it to some old ass fucking lawyer that the school district brings in to talk to you. Like there are people trained in that shit to interview kids like that. So none of that fucking happened, which clearly is a problem. Like, you can't just fucking do that. And then so she gets reinstated as a gym teacher and let go as a softball coach. And then at this point, I mean, she eventually like texts me about something like from her actual phone. And we end up starting to communicate. She gets like a burner phone, so I communicate with her on her burner phone, and then she gets like a fake Snapchat account, and then she made me make a fake Snapchat account to communicate with her on there. And we did start hanging out again, and like the abuse resumed probably mid to late December of my senior year. And it was basically the same shit, but it was even more isolating now because we couldn't go anywhere. And then she would also make me like park streets over from her neighborhood or her house or whatever, and then come pick me up from there, so like my car wasn't seen at her house, or like crazy shit. Like, and so, you know, this is happening. She's like upset because she loses her softball job. Like, she is still like under the idea that like the school district's out to get her, and that this all just happened because they like want to get rid of her. Like there was no like, oh fuck, like I was actually doing this. Like
no responsibility.
Right. So that happens. Like she continues to teach and stuff. Like at this point, like obviously like her coworkers and shit are like, you're a fucking weird ass bitch. Like, I don't want to be like associated with you at all. So she starts having issues at work, and she was kind of like saying that she was gonna like totally switch careers, like whatever. And so she is back at work. The Ohio Board of Education opened their own investigation finally because they found out about this through the newspaper or whatever. So she has this pending with them. And you know, the rest of my senior year was just miserable because she was miserable. So obviously she was going to be miserable. Like she's going to project that onto me. And I was still like going to play college softball. And this was really fucked up too. Like, and I wanted to sign like a national letter of intent or like whatever the fuck, you know, that you do. And she was like, no, like you can't do that because like I can't be there. Like what you're gonna have like your new coach like be there and like take the credit for it. So she wouldn't let me do that. She didn't let me go to prom, all this other shit. She still like went to all of our softball games that year, which was fucking weird, and like stood out like with my parents like and watched the games and shit, which was just like, and like totally acted like she wasn't doing anything to me and like nothing happened. So, you know, I graduate like that summer, like, I'm, like, getting ready to go to school. Like, things kind of resume as normal. Like, we kind of get more, like, lax about things again because, you know, I've graduated. So we kind of go back to doing the same stuff, whatever. Like, she's still, like, seemed very miserable at this point and, like, bitter, like, almost thinking, like, it's my, like, almost, like, blaming me that, like, this happened to her. And so I'm just, like, kind of, like, whatever. Like, I just, like, deal with it. And then, you know, I was at this point in time, like, I was, like, very scared to go to college, like, because I had never been, like, away from her either. I'd never been away from home. I'd never been away from her. I wasn't going to have my car at school either, so I couldn't see her. And so then, you know, she became upset that I was leaving and, he was like, you need to, like, come see me on the weekends, like, blah, 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 whatever. So I go and I try to go to this college and play softball, and, you know, I still have to go and see her, like, on the weekends. Like, I'd have my parents pick me up and, like, they'd take me home, and then I go home and, like, drive to go see her, whatever. And eventually, at the beginning of the school year, like, I get injured, so I can't even play. And so I'm, like, doing this, and then I'm, like, dealing with her, and then she comes up and sees me one day, like, in September, and is like, they, like, took my teaching license. The board did, because they, like, pulled our phone records and they saw, like, how much I called and texted you. So they're taking my license. Like, I resigned from my job, like, today. And so she made me feel bad about that, obviously. And so at some point of this time, like, I just, like, have a mental fucking breakdown. Like, I am like, I don't want to be here. Like, I don't want to be playing softball. Like, I don't want to be living here. I, like, wasn't really getting along or making any friends because I was going home on the weekends so much. Like, when would I have the time?
Yeah.
And I was like, I just, like, want to focus on school, and this school doesn't even have, like, what I want to do, because I wanted to do, like, something criminal justice related, and they didn't have that. And so I was finally like, I, like, need to get the fuck out of here. And so I dropped out after a semester. I moved home. It felt like my parents made me feel really embarrassed about it. She made me feel really embarrassed about it, like I was a failure, like, which made no sense, because I'm like, you're fucking setting me up for failure. And I just, like, I somehow, like, for the grace of God, am able to, like, quickly transfer to Kent State, which is, I was able to commute and whatever, and I got into the major I wanted to do. So that all worked out. And then at this point in time, like, I kind of started to reconnect with my friend Savannah and some of my other friends that I had known in high school, like, that were older than me, that I knew and graduated, like, my sophomore year, like, before, like, any of this with Corey happened. So then I finally moved home, and I, like, told her, I'm like, I'm like, done. Like, I don't want to be, like, in a relationship with you. Like, I don't know. I think I told her I wanted to take a break, like, but I was like, I'm done, like, with this with you. And so, it obviously, like, wasn't just, like, a clean break. Like, we still, like, were in contact with each other. I think we still saw each other, but, like, she, like, at this point in time, like, it seemed like she had really, like, lost interest in me. Like, and I don't know if it was because I was an adult, or if it was because I was not, like, living the life that she wanted me to live, or if she thought I was a failure because I came home and, like, transferred schools and was commuting, because she had always told me, like, in high school, like, oh, like, people that commute are, like, such failures, like, you don't experience life, like, commuting, like, all this other stuff. And so she, like, almost, even if that was something I wanted to do, she almost, like, made me take that out of the picture completely. And so she just, like, basically seemed done and over it and whatever. And so At this point, like, I'm, like, trying to fucking pick up the pieces of my life. Like, I'm fucking living at home. I didn't think I'd be living at home anytime soon. I feel like I don't have any friends because she was my only friend for almost 3 years now. And, at this point I don't have a job. Like, I just feel like I had, like, fucking nothing. Like, and I was just lost. And so finally, like, I was going to school. I was like, I'm going to get a job and, like, just start, like, doing fucking something to fill this void. And so I, like, go to school. I'm working. I finished that, like, semester, that school year out, my first year of college. We still have, like, I guess, like, a relationship, like a friendship. Like, it's not really, like, sexual or anything like that anymore.
Just, like, staying in touch.
Yeah. And so then, and she's very weird at this point in time too. So in, like, 2017, like, it was, like, the fall of my sophomore year of high school. College, sorry. She is like, you should come play on, like, my slow pitch softball team. And I'm like, okay, like, that would probably be good for me to, like, play again, whatever. And so I go and I, like, start playing on this team and it's whatever. And then she starts to get, like, really fucking weird and jealous because I, at this point in time, was, like, talking to a guy. Like, I was starting to, like,
open up.
Right.
Yeah, find yourself.
Yeah, right. And so I'm, like, talking to guys on this team and she, like, starts to get shitty about that and, like, jealous and, like, whatever. And she kind of starts to, like, notice, like, oh, fuck, like, she's starting to have her own life. Mm-hmm. So she starts to, like, really, like, start communicating with me a lot again. Like, she would, like, ask, like, to go on drives, like, pick me up at my house and, like, go on drives and, like, do stuff and, like, whatever. And at this point in time, I'm, like, kind of like, like, no, like, yeah. I don't, like, want this with you. Like, I want to, like, be fucking normal and, like, explore other things and, like, live my life. Like, I don't want anything to do with you. And so actually people on my slow pitch team kind of started to put stuff together and they were like, hey, like, I remember, like, reading about this in the paper. Like, did this happen? Like, were you in a relationship with her? Like, this is when people, like, actually started, like, asking me about it. And these people were frankly the people that were like, that was, like, not okay that, like, happened to you. And, like, these are fucking grown men, like, telling me this. And so then finally, like, people are telling me this and I'm like, okay, maybe I should really fucking look back at, like, what she's done to me and, like, done to my life, So I really started to think about it. Like, I'm taking, like, criminal justice classes, whatever. Like, and at this point in time, this is when, like, things, like, start to click, like, about, like, what she did and, like, what happened to me. And at this point in time, I'm like, done with you. Like, we're not, like, I sent her this text that says, like, do not fucking text me anymore. Do not text my family. Like, I'm fucking done with you. You, like, ruined my life. Like, because I believe one time, too, I had told her that she ruined my life. And she, like, went on this big thing saying, like, really? Like, I ruined your life. Like, I lost my teaching license because of you. Like, all this other stuff like that. And so I was finally just like, I'm fucking done with you. Don't ever fucking contact me again. Whatever. And so I go throughout college. Like, I'm working. I, like, fast-tracked my degree to get done in 3 years. And I decide that I'm going to go to law school, whatever. So I apply to law school and I, post online that I got into law school or whatever. And so she sends me a text and is like, hey, like, I saw online that you got into law school. And I think at this point in time, we're still, like, friends on social media maybe or whatever. And so she sends me this text, like, congratulating me. And I tell her, I'm like, yeah, thank you. Like, just so you know, like, I wrote my law school admissions essay about, like, you and what you did to me. And she was kind of, like, played it off, like, oh, like, really? Like, she was surprised to hear it, but, like, didn't say anything, like, didn't ever apologize, didn't say anything like that. And then I remember, too, like, I think a little while after she, like...
I'm surprised she wasn't, like, shitting her pants.
I think this is when she starts to be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So I think also after that time, like, I remember the last time I met up with her, like, and this had been years since we saw each other. I, like, met up with her because I'm like, I want to fucking ask this bitch in person, like, because all I want to know was, like, why the fuck you, like, had to do this to me. Like, why did you pick me? Like, you had all these other people and all these whatever. Like, why did it have to be me? And, you know, she still, like, never acknowledged the even relationship, really. Never took accountability. Never did fucking, like, just, it was, like, a pointless fucking conversation.
Okay.
So, that's the last time I see her. That's the last time I talk to her. It's like my last year of college right before I go into law school. And then once I go into law school, I mean, we don't have any communication with each other at all. I believe we like became like unfriended with each other on social media, like whatever. And I don't hear from her. And then at this point in time, I kind of get into my first real relationship that wasn't like abuse, you know what I mean? So I get into my first relationship, and like my relationship with him, like we both just like had our own issues, but like, you know, it was so hard to try to make a normal, healthy relationship after like that's what my template of a relationship was. That's all I have to go off of.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, I realized a lot of things like during that, just like I had just a lot of trust issues, like stuff like that, like that I just could not like get over or whatever. And so I'm like starting to realize that I am like affected by this like event that's happened to me. And so I'm just like, you know what, like, I'm just gonna, like, I ended up wanting to go to law school because of this. Because I'm like, I want to be a prosecutor because I want to prosecute people like this that did this to me. And so I go to law school, and I'm like, I am so busy, like, I can't fucking deal with this right now because I'm, like, working and going to law school. And I'm like, I'm just going to, like, deal with this trauma or whatever later. So it's, like, dealing with this shit's, like, always on the back burner for me. So I graduate from law school. I pass a bar. Like, I meet Matt. Like, I'm finally in my, like, first, like, healthy relationship, like, I've ever, like, been in my life, right? And we, like, buy a house, like, we get 3 dogs, like, we're having, like life should be fucking good, right? Like, I have a full-time job, like, working as a prosecutor, like, everything that I, like, had wanted to achieve in my life, like, I had got. But then I'm, like, I'm, like, still, like, so, like, fucking depressed, like, I'm depressed. And then I'm, like, you know, I would have a lot of, like, anxiety when, like, he would leave me alone and go to work. Like, it was just, like, this stuff just, like, kind of started to, like, creep up. And so he's finally like, you know, why don't you, like, go to therapy? Like, you probably need to go to therapy, like, after this happened to you. You know what I mean? And so I go to therapy, and this is the first time that I'm, like, fully, like, talking about her and this and, like, how it's affected my life and just how I'm feeling about it. And then, you know, my therapist was really great. She really, like, helped me through a lot of stuff because I forever was under idea that, like, it was my fault too. Like, and that it was okay that it happened because I consented to it. And then I didn't tell anybody about it when I could have. And so for years, that was kind of like eating me alive almost, because I'm like, oh my God, like, I know that she's like not a teacher anymore, but she actually ended up moving to like a few counties over. She still lived in the state, but she moved a few counties over. Like, she didn't live nearby anymore. And like, from what I understood, she like totally switched careers. And I'm like, you know, I don't know anything about her now. Like, you know, I don't know if she like has done this since me. I don't know if she's going to, like, I started to feel like guilt of like, oh my God, like, what if she does this to somebody else?
Yeah.
Because she did it before me. So she helped me through like a lot of that, basically saying like, you know, it's not your fault. Like, obviously people in your school district didn't do their job either. So I'm still working. I'm like working through that. I worked through that for almost a year. And at this point, it's like summertime of 2024. And I also have like some substance abuse issues as well this time. Like, I would go to therapy and like get all this stuff out, and then it would really like trigger a lot of memories that I had with her, that I either hadn't thought about her in years or like totally repressed, like whatever. And so I would like go home and I would just drink and drink and drink, so I didn't think about that kind of stuff. And so finally I'm like, you know, I'm going to therapy. Like, I'm not really, I still feel like guilty about this. You know, eventually like start to kind of like apply what I'm doing to like my own fucking life, you know, because I like separated them so much for so long. And I'm like, you know, the abuse started in 2014 and ended in 2016 when I graduated for like legal purposes, but I had like 12 years since I turned 18 to report it. And that criminal charges and stuff could be filed. So I am like thinking about it, like I'm talking about it. I am looking through like what I had still saved from that time of my life, like in my phone, like if I had any messages saved, like pictures, whatever. I had some, like a lot of stuff I really would have liked to have, like text messages between us. Shit like that I didn't have anymore.
Yeah.
So I eventually am like, fuck it, like I'm gonna go report it. Even if nothing happens, I reported it.
You
like,
tried, yeah.
I tried. So
and I'm sure to some degree that probably felt empowering for you.
It did. So I finally go and report it. I try to go report it to Cuyahoga Falls first, and they're like, actually needs to be reported in Talmadge because that's where the abuse happened. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and this was after I fucking sat there and like wrote out this full fucking statement with Cuyahoga Falls where they're like, actually, like, this is the wrong place. And I'm like, well, can you like send my statement there? And they're like, it might just be better for you to just go there. I'm like, awesome. Like, perfect.
Yeah, let's write it again.
Yeah, right. So I go to Talmadge like immediately after because I'm like, I need to just fucking do this. Like, I just need to get this over with. Like, I'm like very upset. Like, so I go into Talmadge, like very upset. The officer that I talked to was very nice. Like, he got me water, tissues, whatever, and like put me in a room and just like let me like fucking write out everything that happened. And I was able to do like specific incidents and stuff based on like pictures I had, not of her or anything, but like of other stuff from that time that like had me remember like, oh, like after this her and I did this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I go and I do that, and I'm like, okay, like he's like, okay, like a detective will follow up with you, because he was like, you know, do you want charges? And I'm like, if possible, like, yes.
Yeah.
So a detective gets assigned, and thankfully it's like the best fucking detective in the department, in my opinion. He was a sergeant at the detective bureau, and he brought me in and did like a formal interview like with him and goes over everything. And this dude like worked his fucking ass off. He like sent out all these search warrants to try to get like any records that were left. Like he like fought with the fucking school district to get the records from their investigation because they like fought like tooth and nail not to give that shit to him. Mm-hmm. I think because they knew they fucked up.
Yeah, they didn't want a bad rep.
Right. So, and then he like had to get records from the Ohio Board of Education, and then he probably interviewed like every fucking person that I knew that I was friends with at the time, that I was around like when this relationship was happening. Like, mm-hmm. because obviously like people, my friends were around me and like saw I was different and that like I was hanging out with her and like something wasn't normal, but like didn't know the full extent of it until after I was an adult. So he talks to all these people. Any people that they mention he talks to, like he talks in interviews like so many people, like, and does like such a thorough investigation into this finally. Like this, and this is 10 years later after it started. And so finally, like, he gets, you know, records from the school and the Ohio Board of Education. And thank God the Ohio Board of Education got involved because they actually did, like, a full investigation back then, too. Like, they got her phone records. They, like, got a statement from her that they could, like, that we could use in court. Like, all this other stuff. And so, it ended up getting indicted. So she got indicted on one count of sexual battery in, I think it was January of this year. And so she obviously, like, she lawyered up immediately. Yeah. Like, even when he tried to talk to her, like, she wouldn't talk to the detective at all. Mm-hmm. So she goes in, like, she doesn't have to, like, sit in jail or anything like that. Like, she, like, gets pays bond, like, is out while this case is pending. You know, this is obviously, like, very stressful for me because I'm, you know, working as a prosecutor and doing my own stuff. And at this point in time, I am in, like, our office's domestic violence prosecutor role. So I'm, like, seeing these cases every day of, like, domestic violence, like, crimes against kids, like, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm dealing with that, and then I'm also dealing with my own case. And I, like, made it a point to go to every fucking court date of hers because I'm like, this is not going away from you, like, for you this time. Like, you may have got away with it, like, 10 years ago, but, like, I'm fucking here now. Like, I'm coming to everything. So I would, like, at least go on Zoom, like, even if it was just a pretrial or whatever. But, like, it's all the proceedings and stuff. I mean, it's still very, like, taxing on you to, like, sit there, like, in anticipation, like.
Well, I think, too, it's, like, every time you're hearing it and dealing with it, it's, like, reliving it.
Yeah.
It's bringing it back up and opening the wound again, basically.
Yep. And then, like, you know, I would really want to go to these pretrials to, like, get some power back. I think I really wanted to go to all the hearings to get some power back. Mm-hmm. And, like, know what was going on and whatever. And, you know, I would, even on Zoom, like, I'd go on these hearings and I'd have to see her.
Yeah.
And that's hard, too, to see her. And then it's, like, it's so strange because you know, you do all this work and, like, this person has caused so much trauma in your life. But there's still a part of you that's like, did I do the right thing? Like, there's a part of me still that, like, felt bad for her, even after all this time.
I think the way to look at it, in my opinion, is, like, you're doing it for your 16-year-old self.
Yes, you know? Absolutely. Yes.
And, like, obviously you're doing it for yourself now as well, like, working through it and healing and whatever. But, you know, like, even when you mentioned before, like, that you wanted the closure from her of, like, why you, but I don't even think it has to be from her. I think for yourself, it's nice to know, like, oh, it happened to me because I'm doing something about it.
Right.
There could be a handful of people that would just blow it off and be like, and maybe fully blame themselves and be like, I was just, like, even though, yes, I was young, like,
Yeah.
I wanted it, you know, and just
Yeah.
keep it pushing. But like, I think, you know, there needs to be more people that speak up about things like this.
Right.
Because it does take a major toll on your life.
Oh, yeah.
It does, you know, it messes with so many different aspects of who you are that you're not even able to fully, I think, understand and grasp until you get older. And then you start kind of going backwards and like dissecting, oh, I feel this way because of this, and this that happened to me.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And it's like, yeah, and I just got to the point where I'm like, I don't want this to be something that fucking happened to me anymore that I didn't do anything about.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, you know, obviously you hear stories of people that you're like, oh my God, like this happened to me with a kid, like nothing happened to them. And it makes me feel bad for those people that like either like don't feel strong enough or supported enough to go and like hold their abuser accountable, or just like can't because too much time has passed, you know?
So where does it stand now?
So the court proceedings go on, and like the only person that like really was like fully supportive was my work, because my work knew what was going on. So they were very supportive. They like, you know, like if I was having a hard day, like, because there were sometimes like stuff at work would like bring back memory, like, and like I would go to in like a trauma reaction at work sometimes, and a prosecutor's office is a very awkward place to have a reaction like that too, because you're just like there's just so many people up there and like cops and like whatever. And then obviously Matt like has been a big support. He's like gone to all the meetings with the detectives, like all the court things, like whatever. But like, you know, this whole thing's going on, and my parents are like, I just don't understand like why you did this like now. And like eventually my mom like kind of like, my mom came around and was like, you know what, fuck her, like she did this to you, like I hate that bitch, like she should go to prison. Like, so my mom finally came around, and like my mom did like apologize for like anything like that she did that like led to this to happen, like and so like my mom like ended up being like supportive through it. Like I still don't think she like fully really understood like the gravity of it, and like how it like how it affects your life like as an adult.
I think that might too be like a generational thing.
Yes,
it's like that disconnect of how things that happen to us do affect the mental health.
Right. Yep. But then like my dad, like, and I don't know what I was expecting from my dad, because like I had said earlier, like she like kind of befriended him. So I don't know if he like was manipulated by her too, to an extent.
Just once again, it kind of just gives me the thought that like if it was a man, I feel like he'd view it differently.
Right.
It shouldn't be viewed any differently.
I think if it was a man from the fucking get-go, it would have been viewed by everybody differently. But
right. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it just, and that's another thing too that I like have really wanted to bring awareness of, like by telling my story, is that women are just as fucked up as men are, and they do horrible things to kids too. And
it's not any less damaging or any less serious.
And like I've just seen so many like disgusting comments and stories online, like of like male victims that come forward because they were abused by a female, and just how like people downplay that.
Right, they're very dismissive about it.
Yeah, and I'm like, that is just as damaging as a man doing that to a girl, or a woman doing that to a woman, or a man doing that to a boy. Like, what does it fucking matter? Like, at the end of the day, like, that person is a predator, and they should be held accountable for that, and that story should be taken seriously.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I did not get a lot of support from my dad. Like, he was very much like, oh, like, because like Corey did come from like money. She had a family with money, like whatever. He was like, oh, like you're gonna get sued, like for doing this, like yada yada yada. I don't know why you would do this now, like just like very like not supportive of it. And like,
well, I think too, your story goes to show people that there's no wrong or right time.
right.
I think it's, somebody cannot be ready at a certain time, or they haven't gone through enough, understanding of what happened to them to really be ready to press charges and bring it to the surface. I think that, like, obviously there is kind of that shitty part with like the time frame of things, but besides that, within your own emotional and mental health, it's kind of like you might not even have known the full extent of it until this year, which is totally fine. That doesn't mean you shut up about it because you figured it out too late.
Right, exactly. And it's like I do feel bad for like the people that like do report late and like eventually like charges like can't be filed because there's not enough evidence. Like that fucking sucks. And like I was like thankfully one of the cases where I had enough evidence saved and enough people that saw things that were strange and like the school whatever.
There was like some sort of prior proof there.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I'm one of the lucky ones, but like not everyone is that lucky with things. But so, I'm going through these court processes and like the hearings, and I'm not really getting a lot of I'm still feeling like very like shameful about everything, like because of how my dad like treated it. Like, I know it's one person, but it's like when that person is a parent, it feels like it's like a million people.
I think too, like even if it was just one random person, it's very easy to let these things make you question yourself.
Right. So eventually I'm going through this, and I kind of get to the point where I'm like talking to the prosecutor, and she's like, her attorney said that she would plead to like a non-sex offender offense. And I'm like, at first I'm like, absolutely fucking not. Like, she's a predator, yada, yada, yada. And then like, I kind of step back and I like saw and thought about how long this has affected me and like what I needed at this time out of this situation in this case, and like what I needed to finally like close this chapter of my life. So I like tell the prosecutor, I'm like, hey, like I would be fine if she pled to like a felony like endangering children charge. So it was still like the same degree of felony that she was charged with. It ended up not being like a sex offender registry offense, but she's obviously with that kind of charge, like you'd have a very hard time like working around children again. So, there's a plea deal arranged where she pleads to that charge. And so sentencing gets set out to August 19th of this year. So a few weeks ago. And I think the sentencing is like the craziest fucking part of the story. But I like have family, well, it's my mom and my grandma like wrote letters to the judge. And then like I had some friends like that I knew back then, and then like some friends that I've known now in my adult life that have seen how this has affected me. They all write letters, and I like write my statement. I like at first like I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to happen to her. The prosecutor set the sentencing out for a while so they could do like a pre-sentence investigation, kind of like to get her some evaluations to see like kind of what her life is like now, because I had no idea. Like it had been so long, like I didn't know what she was doing. Like I just didn't know what she was like now. And so I have family and friends write these letters, and then she does her evaluation. She does like a sex eval, whatever. And so the day before the sentencing, I like tell the prosecutor, I'm like, hey, like I would really like to like at least like meet with you and hear like what her PSI says, because I think that is really going to change like how I feel about her going to prison and how long and whatever. And so I met with the prosecutor the day before sentencing, and Corey took... So, and take it for granted, like, this is after she pled guilty to a felony offense involving, like, causing harm to children. She took no responsibility for anything she did again. In her pre-sentence evaluation, she called it a friendship. She said that she denied, like, having any kind of sexual attraction to girls. She said her type is, what was it? Tall men with dark hair and a good personality. So, like, totally downplayed everything, like, told the evaluator, like, I don't even know why I'm, like, here for this. And then her defense attorneys, which I think is hilarious, she paid, like, $10,000 for, like, had her, like, get these, like, go to a counselor for herself and, like, see what the fuck's wrong with her. And, like, basically, like, she tried to say that she's still grieving from the death of her grandma that happened 10 years ago. Even though her grandma died, like, after she started abusing me.
Right.
And that, like, she said that she gets a lot of stress and anxiety having to come to the Akron area for these court proceedings. So, like, it was just, like, still, like, all fucking about her. Yeah. She took no responsibility for anything, whatever. So I, like, read these fucking documents, and I'm like, fuck this bitch. Like, any kind of remorse I had for her where I, like, felt bad about, like, doing this now to her, like, thinking, I don't know, maybe she would have been, like, a better person or, like, learned that she fucked up, like, something. That's, like, totally gone now. So I'm like, fuck that. And so reading all this stuff makes me decide that I'm gonna, like, read my impact statement out loud in court. Because I think I was like, she needs to fucking hear this shit. Because fuck her, you know? You're not even gonna acknowledge that you were in a fucking relationship with me.
Yeah.
So I go, and she, like, has, like, her, like, this whole fucking entourage of people there. Like, and it's her parents and her brother, obviously. And then it's, like, that, you know, that mom that I said would, like, hang out with us with her kids all the time? She was there with two of her kids who are, like, adults now. And, like, all these other people, like, she had, like, 10 people there for her. And then I'm, like, I had, like, Matt there and then the detective that worked on my case. Like, that was all I wanted there. Like, I just didn't need, like, I didn't need all that. Like, I wanted to read my fucking statement and get the fuck out of there. And so she, like, brings in this whole entourage of people. And I don't know... Part of me is like, is it to support her? Is it to intimidate me? Like, what is this? Because, like, she's not taking any responsibility for it. So I'm sure she's not even taking responsibility in these court in these court evaluations to try to make her not go to prison. Like, I'm sure she's not telling any of these people who are in the courtroom with her the truth of what happened. So she has all these fucking people there, and the judge, like, looks at her evaluations, and she told her attorney, like, hey, like, have her be ready to, like, go into custody today. Like, this is even before sentencing. So, I obviously go into this knowing she's going to prison for some amount of time. And I go and read my statement, and it was very empowering to, like, read my statement in front of her, in front of all these fucking people there. And I guess, like, the whole time, the people that were there for her were, like, huffing and puffing and, like, rolling their eyes and shit. And so I read my statement. The judge was, like, very nice. She was like, you know, this isn't your fault. Like, basically, this is just as serious as now as it was 10 years ago. Made me feel, like, very evaluated. And that, like... And she said, like, you know, someone that was in a position of power that you should have trusted, like, took advantage of you. And she wasn't just in a position as an adult child. It was an adult child, a teacher student, and then a coach athlete. So she was very nice. And then Corey got up and read a statement. And I'm like, I don't even know, like, after what I read on your evaluations and stuff, like, I don't even know what, like, you could have to say. And she basically like went on this big spiel about how like her life was turned upside down 10 years ago when she lost her teaching license. And she totally did like another career change. And when she was a coach, she was like a really good coach and like went to all these conferences and trainings or whatever to be a good coach. I'm like sitting there like, first of fucking all, you weren't a good coach, because a good coach doesn't fuck their athletes. That's for sure. And she like went on to say about how like since these court proceedings have been filed, like her life has been on hold. And then she like did some half-ass like apology to me where she's basically like, I'm sorry, like, if I overstep my boundaries, whether that be, like, excessive communication outside of softball or, like, whatever else. Like, taking no acknowledgement that she abused me for so many years. It was, like, the worst fucking, like, statement, like, that she probably could have read, like, out loud. Like, I can't believe that her attorneys, like, looked at that and was like, yeah, okay, like, go ahead. I would have been like, we're not fucking reading that. Like, let me fucking come up with something. Like, you're not reading that. And so she reads a statement. She feels like she obviously displays no remorse at all. And so the judge sentenced her to the max of 3 years in prison. So she is currently in the Summit County Jail now, awaiting to be transported to prison.
Wow.
So and that's kind of where it ends now. I mean, it's kind of been a whirlwind. Like that day was just like so like crazy. Like they like took her into custody there. She didn't cry at all. And you'd think someone with no criminal history like that would be like, oh my God, I'm going to prison. Yeah. Show some sort of emotion. Just like took 3 years in prison, like on the fucking chin. Like, and like another thing she did in her statement to me, so my real name is Katie. Like, it's not Kathleen, it's not Catherine, it's not anything like that. But I have gone by Kate since I was in like middle school. So my parents call me Katie. Like, any friends that I have like before middle school call me Katie. Anyone that knew me after like 6th grade calls me Kate, obviously. And so she like found out my name was Katie like back when we were together, and like called me Katie as like a pet name almost. And then in her statement, she called me Katie, like, and made it a point to call me Katie like multiple times.
Yeah. And
I that really, really pissed me off, because I'm like, it's like, is this a fucking joke to you? Like, or are you trying to act like you like so like weren't close to me at all that you're like calling me by my like official name? Like, it was just like, just shit like that. But at the end of the day, she got what she deserved. I
think, there's no right amount of time for somebody that does something like that.
Right.
But I think that it does go to show that, at least some consequences were handed to her.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, will she have a record after this? And she was...
Yep.
Okay.
So she'll have a felony record of endangering children.
But not as a sex offender.
Not as a sex offender. And that's kind of why I have wanted to speak about this too, where it's like, I understand that like she won't be on the registry, but like if somebody fucking searches her name, like I want them to know what the fuck she is and what she did, and that she shouldn't be around kids. But yeah, it's been a relief to have it all over, like knowing that she is finally like doing a prison sentence, because like I was happy with the amount of time she got to, obviously, because it was the most she could get. But I was, abused and manipulated by her for almost 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's the least she could fucking do.
Right.
And
I think, too, like you said, not only are you potentially helping other younger girls, from her. But in
Right.
general, I think that you are serving as kind of this example of
Right.
why it is okay to speak up, even if it is years down the road, and to not carry the shame and guilt, even if you are a part of something like that. Because, like it was mentioned to you, you weren't in a position to know any better. Like,
Right.
you have somebody that you idolize, in so many different ways. They're in a power of position. They're older. You have zero experience, and it's like she took full advantage of that.
Oh, yeah. And I think she obviously picked up that, like, my mom wasn't around, too.
I was going to say, yeah, you were a good victim for her. You were leaning on her as, support and a friend and somebody that you could talk to.
Right. Like, what I needed at that time was a positive female role model.
Yeah.
And if she was a normal fucking person, she could have done that. But instead, she's took full advantage of it and used me for her own purposes. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and I always think about, like, how the fuck these people could do this, right? And, like, normal people like us would never know, right? But it's just like, you get into a relationship with a kid, like, what's your end game?
I don't even think they think that far. I think it's a sick, twisted, let me just get what I want.
Yeah. It's
very self-serving.
Right.
Selfish.
Yeah. And it's like, the other thing is with it too is, like, there's obviously no way, like, she thought she was ever going to get in trouble for this, I think, after a certain, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure she probably was like, oh, she's older now. Like, because honestly, like I mentioned to you, I don't think a lot of people would look back at your age and think, I need justice for this.
Right, yeah.
I just don't. I think, too, especially because some people might know that it wouldn't be treated as serious as if it was a man. So they're like, why even waste my time? But that's what I'm saying. I feel like you having, a positive outcome from speaking out so many years later is such a good sign. It shows that something isn't, like, our system isn't completely broken.
Right, yes. And, like, that's, like, absolutely what I felt finally, because I felt failed by everybody.
You were definitely failed by the school.
Yeah.
100%.
I think I was failed by my parents too.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately have seen too, like, the justice system fail and not work.
Absolutely.
And kids be scared, or, like, or victims in general be scared just to go through it and to do anything, because it's a lot. Like, it was a lot for me to go through this now as an adult. Like, I can't imagine what it would have been like for me at 16, 17, 18 years old.
Yeah, especially if you feel like you don't have much support.
Right.
And if you are being manipulated by your abuser, you're not going to feel, even if they're saying simple things like, oh, they'll never believe you, or you wanted it too. Even those little manipulative statements could make somebody stay silent.
Right. Yeah. And I think at a certain point too, like, Corey was telling me, like, oh, like, this is okay. Like, if I wasn't your coach, like, this would be okay because the age of consent's 16. And it's like, and it's just like, it's so sick now because, like, I'm not even to the age yet that she was when she did this to me. Like, I'm 27, I'll be 28 next month. And, like, 16-year-olds are so fucking young. Like, they are babies. And, like, I just don't know how you could look at someone that's young.
Because her mind's not well.
Right.
Like, that's the only answer. She's not well. She's sick.
Right. And, it's also scary, too, to think about, like, how many of these, like, people, like, I've heard them coined as, like, chameleons in society are among us that we have no fucking idea about, like,
or haven't acted on it yet, but think about it, it's scary.
Yeah,
it's very scary.
And it's just and it's so scary too, because I found out also that she's worked at probably like 4 or 5 different school districts, which I knew she worked at like a couple. I guess I didn't realize how many. I knew she did work at one in Florida as well. And I'm like, it just, what she did to me just didn't seem, and I know there was one confirmed incident that, like, before me, but she was just so good at, like, manipulating people around her. And I just don't know if there's, like, any other victims of her out there, like,
right,
or, like, what they think happened, or if they think it was okay for whatever reason, or if they think it's too late. But hopefully this, if there are other people out there, hopefully that this incident with her and the fact that she went to prison helps give them some closure as well. That she's a very sick person and should sit there and think about what she did to me and to anyone else and whatever. And, you know, I don't know if she will use her time to, like, get help and, like, do the programming they recommend, because I think they're going to recommend her to do some sort of, like, sex offender treatment in there. You know, I don't know if she's just going to continue to play this, like, victim card.
And she might.
And she might. And it's just very unfortunate for her that she doesn't want better for her life or to admit she's a problem. And I know, I can't imagine how hard it is to, like, admit that you have a problem like that, right? But, like,
I think we're a little past that.
Yeah. But it's just, like, I just can't believe, like, all she had to do, like, was explain to me, like, the prosecutor's office was kind of like, you know, like, it's very rare in these cases where if it's, like, only a third-degree felony for them, like, if they don't have a criminal record or whatever, to, like, go to prison, and, like, especially with how much time has passed. And I was kind of like, you know, okay. And then, like, I also had a victim rights attorney, like, when all this was pending too, because I was so afraid that shit was going to get fucked up again. And he, like, explained to me, you know, most of the time, like, if you have a client like that, like, you tell them to go in there and fucking take accountability for what they did, or else you're going to fucking prison.
Yeah.
So it's just so crazy to me that, like, that's the hill that she's going to die on. Like, to take no responsibility, to rather go to prison for years than take any responsibility or even acknowledge that, like, this happened. Like, that is a fucked up person.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, if there were, like, I would have acknowledged some sort of responsibility to prevent myself from going to prison, but
yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah, it was just.
But I'm glad that there was some sort of consequence, you know, and that she was, even if it's just, you know, I know you said the max was 3 years, but
yeah,
it's better than nothing.
Right.
Honestly, it's like, and it's not, that isn't just a slap on the wrist.
No,
like
it's not.
It forces you to have time to reflect, and either she will or she won't. But regardless, you stood up for yourself then and now.
Yes. So. And I will continue to do so.
You should. Absolutely. So, yeah.
That's about all I have.
It was amazing.
Thank you.
Such a good job, really. I feel like you do such a good job telling your story.
Thank you.